David Delisle, founder of The Awesome Stuff, is a best-selling author, entrepreneur, real estate investor, speaker, and most importantly, dad. He's a contributor to Entrepreneur, Yahoo News, Thrive Global, and more. At age 11, David made his first investment. By age 20, he began investing in real estate and was retired by age 40. His book, The Golden Quest, is a Calvin and Hobbes style graphic novel that teaches potent lessons about money, focusing on breaking the cycle of always chasing more. David's goal is to change the way our kids think about money and create more freedom for what's more important to them. The Awesome Stuff. David has been featured in Good Day LA, Good Day DC, NTD TV, New York Post, Scary Mom, Go Banking Rates, Mind Body Green, Credit Sesame, and more. What's up, my financially intentional people? I am excited to have David Delisle join us today, and he has done some amazing things in finance. And I love it when it includes the kiddos to get them exposed to personal finance as early as possible. So first, let me welcome you, David. How are you?
I'm good. I'm so happy to be here, Nasima. This is going to be a fun conversation.
Definitely happy to have you. First, I just want to get like your background. Like, how did you end up in the finance space? What's your story?
I was a total money finance nerd. So I was reading finance books when I was like 10. So I've always been interested in finance and loved this stuff. And then I found as I got older and I had my own kids and wanted to pass some knowledge on to them, that's when I started looking around, realizing there wasn't a lot of material for kids. And so that's what inspired me to write this graphic novel that teaches kids about money, but in a bit of a different way, without the shame and judgment, keeping it simple, making it fun. The whole thing's a story and an adventure. And over that journey, I'm becoming more and more passionate about just financial literacy in general, whereas before it was just my own nerdiness. And now I'm passionate to try to share that with others.
But what inspired this? Like, how did you even know? As a kid, I was interested in making money, doing the selling the candy and all of those kind of things. But like understanding finance in itself was like something that I didn't even get exposed to until my 30s. So were your parents into finance? Was there somebody in your life that like prompted you in that direction or guided you that way?
I wish my parents were into finance and there was a mentor. It would have made my life so much easier.
Right.
It's funny because on reflection, I noticed like a lot of it. My dad, he was a commercial diver, but hated his job. He was of this like mentality of work hard, play hard, never had any money, was never around. He'd be away for weeks at a time, if not months, where we wouldn't see him. So I saw how much he hated his work. And that probably stuck with me a bit of, it just felt like a terrible way to go. And then the first time I found out that I could put money in a bank account and earn interest for doing nothing, I was like, I don't know, but there seems like there's another way to earn money that maybe isn't as, where you don't feel as trapped and miserable and unhappy. So yeah, I just started reading finance books. And then I think, and this is what I think gets most people excited about finance. I'd love to ask you as well, like even in your 30s, once you start understanding like compound interest and how much money can grow over time, all of a sudden you're like, I don't have any time to waste. I need to start investing today.
Right.
And it's ridiculous how it grows. And I think that also inspired me because some of the early books I read, they talk about the difference between starting at 10 or 20 or 30. And the numbers were so great that I just got excited about it.
And you started investing really early, right?
So I started making my first investments around like 10 or 12.
That's crazy. And this was a long time ago when making investments wasn't just something you can do on your phone, right? How did you do that? And where did you get the money from?
It was so much harder then. And that's why I'm so passionate about it now, because it's simpler and I wish I had some guidance. So at that time, I went into a bank with my dad. He had to set up a bank account. We had to do it. There weren't really high minimums, maybe $100 or something like that. Whereas now they're even lower. But I think like my first investment was basically like a government bond, which as a 10-year-old is a terrible investment. And even then, I knew it was a bad investment.
You're like, what are the returns on this again? Ugh.
Exactly. And that's at a time where you can take all this risk. If I lost it all, it wouldn't matter. And I had nothing but time on my side. So I knew it was a bad investment, but my dad just wanted to rush me through the bank. He didn't care. He was like, this is fine. And it was my dad. So I went along with it. And I think that too, like I realized, no, I'm not going to listen to someone else or go against my gut or do something like it. It was a crazy investment, but that's how I started. But it was trickier back at that time because we didn't have access to the stock market like we do today. So I wasn't investing in stocks. It was mutual funds. And I remember even like setting up brokerage accounts and having to like fax paperwork over. It was just it was tricky.
Yes. And that's what I'm telling people, like the access that we have to financial markets just happened over the last couple of years. I would say even during COVID, it accelerated the process of getting us access to these things. And I love to talk about how bad Robinhood is. Banks like Robinhood or whatever you want to call financial institutions like Robinhood spearheaded a lot of that, getting people access over their phones and easily with little minimums and little financial fees and the things that people just don't think about when they think about investing. But those platforms increase access to so many people who didn't think investing was for them. But even now with some of the bigger discount brokerages, the access that we have to be able to invest, the almost elimination of the fees and the ease in the process is something that was a dream back in the day. Like you wouldn't even think about that. You never think it was that possible back then. So kudos to you to sticking to it at 11 years old. And I just wanted to talk about that because it was a chore to be able to invest back then. But still, your 11-year-old self was like, I'm going to do this. And you stuck with it. So I applaud you.
Thanks so much. And I'd love to go deeper into that because that's a great example of how things have changed. I think because it's changed, financial literacy hasn't caught up to that. Mm-hmm. So when I was doing this, it was really hard to show how nerdy I was. We would get books. We didn't have the internet. Like I'm old. We didn't have the internet to just get daily stock tips and what's going on. So I would get annual books of like mutual fund advisors and funds and top funds to figure out like where to invest. It was so much more difficult. And that's why when we think about investing, it feels overwhelming and so tricky. And people are like, I just don't get it. I don't understand it. And I have to know all of this. But just like in my book, like when I talk about the investing portion of my book, I emphasize the habit of investing and the idea of compound growth, but not the actual mechanics. Because the mechanics, it's not something that we have to worry about anymore. We have financial advisors and apps and tools that automate this. So it's so simple. You don't really have to understand it. You just need to just automate it and just invest in the entire stock market and keep that happening for a long period of time. Like it's just, the world is different now. You don't have to understand the mechanics like you did when I was younger.
And that's what stops so many people. Like people come out to me like, where did you get started? Even with me, like I said, I didn't really start like actively understanding investing until I was in my late 30s, until I was like 36. And I was just like, okay, I got to figure this out. I'm going to sit down and I'm going to do it. And then once I started diving in, I was like, for real, it's really that simple. Like, how come we're not all doing this? Why was I hyping myself up like that? And I realized it was because, and I think it's intentional, investing was sold to, it's this complicated thing. You need either a degree or you need a financial advisor to do it for you, or you won't be able to figure it out. And so we usually just throw our hands up and just be like, I'll figure it out when I have time. Even when it comes to simple stuff like understanding what's in your 401k. Either you do it, you set it up and you do the little quiz and you're like, what's my risk level? And you just invest based on their recommendations, or you just don't do anything and you're just like, I'll wait until I can understand this, or until somebody can help me, or until I have a financial advisor that can handle this for me. And oftentimes people are up against their retirement and they're just like, I got to figure this out because I don't have the time now. You know what I'm saying? And I know I don't have the money to retire. So what do I do? But yeah, I just think intimidation is still very real in so many people. And so that's why I like to talk about it and normalize it. And that's why I love that you have this book, because I think It's a little hack. I get people to talk about investing because I talk about it for their kids. And people are more likely to do things for their kids than they are for themselves. And so just, oh yeah, let's talk about this kid's book. And then it's just, oh no, but I'm really teaching you the lesson.
That's exactly right. I mean, it actually isn't a kid's book. It's a book for adults. Yes. And it's just written for kids so they can teach their parents, because it is exactly that. It's that little hack. And that's why I'm so passionate about this as well, because I find when it comes to a lot of these conversations around money and financial literacy and economics, there's so much judgment and shame. And it's been, I'd love to just introduce a new tone, a softer tone where it's more approachable. It is much easier. People don't have to feel insecure or like they have to know it all. And we're in a world, like you said, where you really don't. This is a lot easier than people think. But we need to remove the taboos. You need to ask for help. You need to talk about it. You don't have to feel ashamed if you don't have the answers. That would change everything. But right now it's sort of like, no, if you don't understand this, you're a bad person. And we just need to change that.
Not even that. It's just so many people feel shame that they don't understand it. And then they're ashamed to ask for help because they feel like, I'm an adult, I should understand this. But how do you know? You went to school or you went through a certification program to do the job that you did. You had to be taught that. How do you think you're just supposed to automatically figure out investing? I tell that people that, like, when it comes to kids too, because I'm a labor and delivery nurse. So I deliver babies, and parents are so scared and they think I'm supposed to know these things. How are you supposed to know how to be a parent unless you've studied it, unless you've been around like kids your whole life? It is a whole learning curve, honey. You didn't study enough. So don't be intimidated. And so if you don't have access to this information, how are you supposed to know? And that's why I like to normalize it for people. But also I like to encourage people, because people are more apt to go after those big wins, those lottery hits, these stories that they hear about people making it big on investing in AMC and all of these crazy things. Like, that's not it either. There. Okay.
And that's the thing, is if we don't talk about it, then we start seeking the information from like social media, which is not where you want to be getting your information. I was just earlier today, I was just doing an interview talking about like money dysmorphia. And it's this concept where your perception of your finances doesn't match reality. And it's because we see all these other people doing things on social media and we think we should be doing that. And it's just not true. And as soon as we start having more and more of these conversations with our kids, with our friends, normalizing it, if you don't understand it, you don't know where to start, ask your friends, do you invest? Where do you invest? If they're like, I don't know, and then be like, let's find someone who might be able to help us, or find an app or talk to someone. Because what a lot of people don't understand is that the people who are investing a lot of money and do this a lot and really understand it, they ask for help.
That's it.
Like they're not doing it by themselves. Warren Buffett, he's not doing this whole thing in a vacuum, in a silo with no information. He has advisors and mentors and people that he's talking to all the time. And it just makes sense, because if you want to understand anything, ask for help. Talk to other people, learn, grow. And it really is something I'm trying to really remove that shame and that taboo around this. And that's why, again, with the kids book, it's great, because if young kids are starting to talk about this, they'll grow up as adults that'll feel comfortable talking about money and finances.
Exactly. Normalizing those conversations. And I just have to say, I do have a social media presence where I talk about it, but not as a financial advisor, as a way to normalize the conversations, as a way to make it accessible for people. Like, it does not have to be hard. These are the things that you can do, and just remove that stigma, remove that I have to understand everything to get started. You don't. You don't. You really just have to get started.
When it's that habit of getting started, like that compound growth, if you start having that compound growth happen, like if it happened 10 or 20 years ago, it doesn't matter if you're like what percentage you were earning, what you were in, what was happening. That habit 10, 20 years ago would have had much bigger impact than anything else.
Exactly. And that's why I try to tell people, listen, a lot of times you want to wait, or you want to think that it's not for you, or that people that are rich look a certain kind of way, but it's not that. It's people who have invested continuously just early on and just haven't stopped, that are rich. That's the biggest population of the rich, than these people that are like these overnight successes and all this kind of thing that you are glamorizing. That is not it. It's your millionaire next door. And I actually love that book because because you are a millionaire. And there was a study that was done that shows the percentage of millionaires by career. And one of the bigger percentages are teachers. And people are like, teachers don't make any money. But teachers were forced into retirement systems early on where they had to invest their money, whether they understood it or not. So they make up a big portion of those millionaires just because they had to start early in their career and they just had to do it often. It was just that simple.
Yeah. Well, and if it was as simple as just earning a lot or having that money, we wouldn't have these people with these massive salaries going bankrupt.
Come on. Mm-hmm.
Right? It's not about how much you earn, it's how much you keep, how much you invest, and getting your money working for you. Yes. I think I like to say that I feel for people who don't understand this or get it, but it's a real good shift, is instead of thinking of your money in terms of what it can buy, if you think of it in terms of what it can earn.
Yes.
That'll start to change everything for how your relationship with money and how you view this.
No, I love that. I love that. And I like to say, turn yourself into an owner instead of a consumer. If you understand that these are things that you like to buy, you're always on Amazon. Why not own a portion of Amazon?
Yeah.
And that's how I like to frame things for my kids, because that's the way that they can understand. They're inundated with all of these messages to buy all of these things and advertisements at school, what's popular. All of these things, but I try to shift that conversation. What if you own that? Imagine how much you can earn. Imagine how much you can have for your future. Imagine how little you have to work, because of course they hate working, they hate doing things. Already, it's just, you could just chill, make your money work for you, because it can work harder for you than you can work for it. Yeah.
Yeah. So that really is it. That habit and getting your money working for you. You don't then have to worry about money. You don't have to read the finance books like I did. You don't have to check out the stock markets or do different things. Just automate it. You don't have to know any of that. Set up that habit and that's it. You don't have to worry about money ever again.
So has that financial dirtiness rubbed off on your kids?
Oh, not at all. My guys, not at all. I'm a parent. I'm sure you find this as well. Your kids want to do the exact opposite of anything you're doing.
Because you're so dumb. Why would they listen to you?
Yeah. And on that, so my boys, I don't talk about all of these complicated things. I'm not talking about day trading or real estate investments or stocks. What I'm talking about is the habit of investing. So setting up that habit so it's automated. It happens at the beginning. Mm-hmm. And their mindfulness, their approach to money, and really understanding what's important to them. And that's almost it. And it's really cool because, especially on the mindfulness side, and we can go into that a bit if you want.
Definitely.
But my boys at 12 and 15, they don't understand a lot about money, but they aren't trying to keep up with the Joneses. They're not jealous of what their friends have. They're not chasing all these things. Mm-hmm. And when I asked my younger guy, what's the difference for you? Why is that? And he's like, I know what my awesome stuff is and I don't care about anything else.
Yes. Yes. I like that, because peer pressure is real, and a lot of it is centered around consumerism. And I remember I had to teach my daughter, just one instance, all of a sudden I think Mr. Beast endorsed Prime or something. And so all the kids at school had Prime. And that was the hot thing to do. And my daughter didn't even like it. She tasted it and she didn't even like it. And she was like, but I have to have this Prime. And so she went to 7-Eleven. She got her little money, rode her skateboard across the street, got the Prime, went to school, and they were just that's not even the real Prime. I'm let me tell you something, okay? I supported this Prime thing for 2 seconds just because I just wanted you to see that it's stupid. But you need to tell your friends, listen, I don't care about this Prime, okay? Because I probably own the company that makes the Prime, so I'm making money off of you guys buying this, okay? I really don't care about this trend. And of course, now it's not even a thing. And I was teaching her, you see that? You see this, all these parents were like, oh my God, I got to get my kids this Prime because it's like the hottest, latest. We're not going to do that. We don't do that. Okay. Like we focus on making our money grow for us.
Yeah. And it's neat because once they recognize that, so once, like in your daughter's case, like if she realized, you know what I love? I love Slurpees or ice cream or something instead, then all of a sudden that compared to the Prime, it's like, why would I even want that?
Exactly.
And as you get older, those comparisons just get bigger and bigger. It starts to become your health, helping others, financial freedom, travel, like all these other things. And that's what I try to teach is once you really understand what's important to you, what your awesome stuff is, everything else that you thought was important just seems irrelevant in comparison. It just doesn't matter.
Exactly. And that's like the intentionality of everything. Like I feel once you get intentional about something, it highlights what's important to you. And that then feeds into other areas of your spills over to like other areas of your life, your health, the things that you eat, the things that you start to consume, the messages that you listen to, what you're willing to do, what you get to do. And so I like to teach those lessons to my kids too, because is this really going to matter later on down in life? Is this like what's really bringing you joy? Do you think it'll sustain bringing you joy for long? No, if you are answering no to any of those questions, then why are we even doing this?
Yeah. And unfortunately, a lot of times it's when something really bad happens where we start to realize what's really important.
Yeah.
But if we can do that before a crisis, before everything falls apart, it really does start that journey towards a more joyful, richer life. And
Yes.
yeah. So the question I ask my kids all the time is like, is that your awesome stuff? And just get them to pause and just ask that question.
I love that.
And they get it. They get it better than parents. If I ask my kids, is that your awesome stuff? They're honest with themselves. Like they might try to be like, yeah, it is. But you could hear their voice. They know it. I know it. We know it isn't. We all know it isn't. But you start doing that with adults and it's a little trickier. They're like, oh yeah, no, that is my awesome stuff. Like that house is my awesome stuff. That dinner is my awesome stuff. But if they really start sitting on it and you're like, when were you the happiest this past week? When's the last time you laughed with your friends? When's the last time you lost the moment because you're having so much fun? What were you doing? What did you have? What were you spending? And a lot of times you weren't spending anything. And
Exactly. But I love that you're able to drill down on that with people because people don't think like that. What do you think makes them think that it's those things? It's the job, their careers, or their houses, or the things that they've accumulated that is their awesome stuff. That's going to always be their initial answer. Why do you think that is?
It's momentum, I think, a lot of it. Like we live such busy lives and we're just on a track of just doing the next thing, doing the next thing, doing the next thing. And that's why as soon as you break that cycle, like you said, intentionality, I think of mindfulness, it's all the same thing. It's as soon as you pause and really just ask that question, it forces you to be in the present and shift that. And so some great examples, like one of my favorite stories, I was doing an interview with someone and his awesome stuff that he told me was this new soundboard he wanted to buy. He was a podcaster. He was doing daily lives. Like this new soundboard would have made his life so much better. He had his eyes on it and it was his awesome stuff. And again, for me, there's no judgment. That could have been his awesome stuff. But I could tell by just the way he talked about it and his tone and his excitement that it wasn't. Not his awesome stuff. So I asked him because I knew he was a parent and he loved his family. So I started asking him about his kids. And he'd just gone on a trip with his two daughters. And it was a plane ride. It was just a local state to state plane ride. But it's the first plane that his daughters had ever flown on. And he was like, and that trip, it was just amazing, an experience. And immediately his body language changed and he got excited and he started leaning in. He started talking about this. And it was so amazing because as he was telling me about this trip, there was that moment where he all of a sudden, like, he paused because it was like, it hit him. Oh, this is my awesome stuff. This is what's important to me. And that compared to the soundboard, there's just no comparison. And I think that's the thing is we forget, but once we start getting intentional and mindful and ask the question and notice, you'll start to realize there's things in your life that just are so much more important than the things you've been spending your time and money on.
That is a word. I love it. I love it. So were you a financial professional before you retired at 40? What were you doing professionally?
So I was a programmer, web developer, online marketer. So I did those things.
Okay.
But I started investing in real estate in my early 20s. So that was a lot of how I created my financial freedom, was through real estate. And for me, the way I did it was buying rental properties, keeping them, and having tenants. And it worked really well. That was my path. I was an advisor for a short period of time, more as a hobby, because I had so many friends in the industry that were just like, David, come on and get into this. But I found I wanted to educate my clients. I wanted to talk about all these things.
Yeah.
And a lot of the job as a financial advisor is a salesman selling a product. It's not as an educator or helping and teaching your clients. So it didn't align with what was valuable to me. So yeah.
Space, because I think that you're wonderful at it. Like I could just tell like the level of engagement that you have with your clients or people that you talk to or people that you're just able to help them drill down like what's really important. And of course, there's a financial piece to that. There's things that you have to do. But like in understanding that, I really feel like it gives money a bigger sense of purpose. And then it just makes it so much easier to work towards those things, because it's not just like you're retiring out of this thing that you hate. You're retiring into something or a lifestyle that's going to bring you joy. And so I really like that.
Well, with that freedom, because you mentioned like your kids don't want to work. So they're looking at that. And that's the thing, is a lot of people, and that is the case for a lot of people. But all of this that we're talking about, like freedom's not black and white. It's not you work or you don't work. You create a big nest egg and you never do another thing in your life. Like it's not that black and white. As soon as you have any of this freedom, that freedom might mean doing a job you love that maybe pays 10 or 20% less.
Yes.
Like there's a whole range of things it can be. Or it could be doing a job you hate, but having the privilege to be able to do like a sabbatical every few years, or take long vacations, or not feel stuck in that job if you really have to just decide to leave. So all these things, like freedom comes in many different forms, and it's not never having to do anything again ever in your life. And if that was your goal, if you achieve it, it won't bring you happiness, because as soon as you have nothing to do, your life is not better, it's worse.
And oftentimes people pass away after that. But I like to say that the freedom that I'm giving my daughters is giving them the opportunity to opt out of a lot of the BS that I had to endure because I wasn't in a good place financially, and make better decisions for their whole life, because money isn't going to be an issue. But also, I like to say that a lot of times it's not that people don't want to work. It's just that the way they're working is causing them so much strife that they feel like it's the job that's doing it. But if they could work less hours, or they can move into a different position where they can not deal with the BS that they don't want to deal with and focus on the things that they love, they would work forever. Like me, I feel like nursing is a cheat code. I love delivering babies. I love being able to see life be brought into this world. I love being there for my patients. However, there's a lot of things that I wish I could opt out of, politics and all that kind of stuff that come with being in a healthcare organization. But if you know that you can minimize those things, I could see myself doing this forever. But then I also be like, yeah, but I probably need to take a couple of months break every now and then, do little mini retirements, so that I can opt out of those things that I don't like. I don't ever see myself retiring. Yeah.
There's a massive difference between feeling you have to work versus choosing to work.
Yes.
Massive difference. The day-to-day is identical.
Yeah.
But how you feel and how you feel towards your job and your life and your situation changes dramatically. And that's the thing, is with all this, the goal shouldn't be not to work. It should be to have the freedom to make that decision.
Exactly. And then as a nurse, I feel like it helps me be able to better show up as a patient advocate, be able to be the best nurse that I could be, right? To make sure that I improve those outcomes. And so, yeah, it's because I want to be there.
Yeah. Well, and the irony is because of that and the way you approach it, because you're being a better nurse, a better version of yourself, you're probably getting paid more and being promoted more and doing better at your job. It's one of these things where it just starts perpetuating itself in the sense of the happier you are, the better you'll do. The more you enjoy your job, the more you'll succeed at it.
Not only that, it just opens up a whole world of opportunities that you didn't know was possible. Like when you put yourself in that position of intentionality, of just like being there and loving what you do. Like I've gotten so many opportunities and exposure to so many things I wouldn't have known was possible until I set myself on this path of financial freedom. So I think like those are the intangibles that a lot of people miss out on because they don't even get started.
Yeah. I love that. No, it's so amazing. And if we could teach our kids that, then how much of a better world will we have?
That's it. And again, like they don't necessarily want to listen, but they see you. And that's the important thing. They see you and it might not resonate now, but later on down the line when it's more important, it will. I have hope because, I know they like we talked about, they don't necessarily want to be like us, but the more we can work on ourselves, the better that we can do, the more that they can catch and can help them later in life. But I really want to drill down into this book and talk about the lessons and what people can get out of it. It's for everybody, like you said, but let's talk about it a little bit more.
So the book, it's called The Golden Quest, and you can find it on Amazon or Barnes & Noble or your local bookstore. And it's a graphic novel. So the whole thing is just illustrated, which is amazing because even young kids that can't read might just flip through it.
Yeah.
Or I know my younger guy, he's dyslexic, and I've had other friends that are dyslexic where, again, they read it and they understand it and they get it because it's just so simple. And I tried to really boil it down to what's most important. Because for me, I would have loved to talk about like all the nerdy stuff, but that's not important. Like I said, it's just exactly right over people's heads. That's where people they don't want to talk about money and finances. So I didn't include that because it's actually not that important. It doesn't, the tactical side of things is not the most important. It's the mindset and the habits. So in the book, I really only cover 4 key lessons. And these are for kids, but again, they would be the same lessons I would encourage the adults to follow. And the first is only buy the awesome stuff. And that's all around the mindfulness. Yeah. And it sounds simple, but it's even for myself, talking about it all the time, things that used to be important to me are no longer important. Friends that I used to spend time with, I no longer spend time with because all these things I started realizing what brings me the most joy. Where am I the happiest? What do I really care about? And it really is one of these things where it just continually shifts and changes because you're constantly just being faced with, did I have more? Is this what I love? Is this what's important to me? Or this other thing? And it does make a massive difference. So that's the first lesson. The second one is all about saving first. Always save first. And there's a dragon in the story that spends all its money on cookies. And the whole idea is until she started saving first, she never had any money left over. And this is so important because this is the habit piece. This is where people think it's got to be so much more difficult and budgeting and all these other things. But like my older son, he's a spender. So if he has the money, he will spend it. And so he started to develop the shame around it and feeling bad about it and worried about it because we shame our spenders. But I've tried to tell him, like, this is where they don't need to learn a lot from me. If I just say, look, everything that comes in, we're going to take a small percentage and just that's saved and put to the side. We never touch that. The rest you could do whatever you want
whatever
with.
You want. Yeah.
That's it. And that habit, that's what governments do. They take our money at the beginning. They don't put it in our hands. It's taken right off our paycheck before we ever see it. Exactly. We should be doing the same with our savings. And that habit, that will allow you to achieve financial freedom for sure. And then the third lesson is all around like compound growth and just the idea of how money grows, because that really is where the difference between creating huge wealth and financial freedom or watching your money slowly deteriorate with inflation. Yeah. And then the fourth lesson, and it's again a bit of a mindset piece, it's this idea of giving, give and you'll have more. Mm-hmm. And I really want to emphasize this idea around giving, and giving not always necessarily financially, just giving in general, and seeing how there's a reciprocity to that and it comes back. And those 4 lessons, and the whole purpose is to achieve more of that freedom for the awesome stuff. And I really try to emphasize as well, the awesome stuff's going to be different for everyone, because that's where we have so much judgment. Everyone's going to have a different path, but just understanding these principles will give you the freedom to choose the path that's best for you.
I love that. And no path is perfect, right? Nobody has it all figured out, but it's about taking those steps. It's about just starting that journey. That's most important. Yay. I love that. So again, share with people how they can find the book and how they can connect with you.
Yeah. So the book is The Golden Quest, and it's at bookstores or on Amazon. And then for me, they can connect with me through theawesomestuff.com. or on Instagram at The Awesome Stuff. So all of it's around this concept of the awesome stuff and that mindfulness approach, and just really understand what's important to you.
I just love this because it just reiterates that lesson that most of this money around, most of this, the movement around like building wealth is around mindset. And people want to skip over that, right? They're like, I don't want this, like this woo-woo stuff. I need the steps. And guest after guest, every time I talk to people, this is what they focus on. And so if you haven't gotten the message yet, please get it today. It's really that mindset piece that needs to shift before you can really see any kind of substantial changes financially. Yeah.
Well, if we think of like, there's people that are millionaires, billionaires even. And if they don't have that mindset piece, they're still chasing more. That's why we see these depressed celebrities or athletes that lose it all or commit suicide or just aren't happy. The mindset's massive, because if you don't have that mindset, it does not matter how much you have. You'll never be settled or happy or feel like you have enough. You'll constantly be chasing it. We see it with these billionaires competing with each other. Yes. They're not happy. They're competing with each other versus other ones where they are settled. Someone like a Warren Buffett's living in his old family home, driving his old family car. He's happy. Cool. He's content. Very happy.
Yes, I love it. I love it. And again, like sometimes you just have to hear things over and over to really understand it and understand what it means for you. But I love that you wrote this book, because I feel like it's a perfect way to demonstrate how to implement those mindset shifts. And I love that it's written in a way that's accessible for so many people, because personal finance books aren't always the most fun to read. They can be dry, even the best ones. Most people are like, I can't really get through this, but like something that is easily digestible with amazing graphics that anybody can understand, even people with learning disabilities or people that can't even read. Like I know my middle daughter would enjoy it. Even my baby loves looking at pictures, but I just love this. So I appreciate you sharing that with us. I will definitely be picking up my copy of The Golden Quest and can't wait to share it with my kids. But I want to thank you so much for being on the podcast. You're just so refreshing. You're like, I love your tone. Like you just make me feel so zen.
Well, that's what I'm trying to do. For me, I'm trying to inspire this movement where we just change the way we talk about money and change our relationship to it. It shouldn't be something that makes you feel shame or judged or insecure or all these things. Like it should be zen and inviting. What is financial freedom other than just not having to worry? That's financial freedom.
Yes. Yeah. I love it. And so I love what you're doing. And I know people out there listening are going to love it too. So David, thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for this book. And I really look forward to seeing what you're going to do in the future.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Nasima. It's great being on here and love what you're doing as well. So
thank you.
Definitely reach out.